What got me thinking about the rule of law all over the world was not so much what's happening in places like Russia or Pakistan or Turkey. I could have mentioned other places. What really got me interested was the case of Sally Yates, who was sacked as acting Attorney General in the early days of the Trump administration when she ordered the Department of Justice not to enforce the original executive order on the travel ban that President Trump put into law. And I think it was that thought of rule of law challenges that perhaps we've not known before coming to lawyers in jurisdictions we've traditionally thought of as safe, like the United States, like the UK. I'm very aware that when I write about the position and the difficulties, the challenges for lawyers in Turkey, say, I'm very aware that, you know, I'm writing that and I'm thinking about that from a very comfortable place in London. But I think it's important for all of us, not just because of some feeling of solidarity with lawyers in Russia, for instance, not just because we care about what's happening there and to them, but because we wonder about our own jurisdictions and where life for us is going. I think that's what makes it important for us to learn from what's happening. Turkey, what can you say about Turkey? I think it's the worst performer if you tally in the European human rights system, if you tally adverse judgments up or count them up. And so, you know, we mustn't say this is all about President Erdogan, but since the coup, or attempted coup, last year, things seem just to have got far, far worse. Lawyers being arrested, lawyers then being arrested for defending those lawyers, judges being arrested, thousands of them being sacked. And I think this is causing terrible problems in the courts in Turkey, where there are lots of new and inexperienced lawyers. And, you know, I wouldn't be confident myself on what basis these people were being appointed of their own independence. I think it's very difficult for lawyers there to predict how courts will behave. Russia's an enigma, they always say. Certainly what's been going on in Russian legal life, at least if you look at the big cases, has been just absolutely astounding. What happened to Sergei Magnitsky, I talk about in the piece. First posthumous prosecution, it was as though the state couldn't stop persecuting him. The Pussy Riot trial, quite a few of us followed the other year. Lawyers are not even, you know, not safe there. In Pakistan, we've seen lawyers as heroes, and that's interesting. I think that lawyers in Pakistan fully and thoroughly deserve the reputation they've gained for standing up for their own constitution and for the rule of law. When Chief Justice Chowdhury was sacked under the old regime of General Musharraf, and the constitution was suspended, thoroughly deserved, and they're an example to us. At the same time, I get things are complicated in Pakistan as well. Things are complicated because the problem isn't just the government, it comes from terror. We've seen lawyers massacred by jihadists there. It comes from the general public when you have outrageous human rights issues like the blasphemy law there. It's not just its existence, it's the incredible application of it as just as a means for people to take revenge on outsiders. I mean, these challenges and these difficulties for lawyers and the rule of law, they come from all directions, actually. If you're an individual lawyer trying to do your best and be the best lawyer that you can in Pakistan. One of the big things that came out of this for me was a realisation of a point that will seem very obvious to a lot of lawyers, which is the importance of international standards. And we have international standards, not just because it's nice or people like an international lifestyle of committees. We have them not just to add layer on layer of unnecessary rules. We have international rules precisely because no one jurisdiction is safe. The rule of law isn't entirely safe in any one jurisdiction. And where is objectivity in this world? It's difficult to pin down what it is. If there is any, it's the objectivity that can be provided by international standards. And that's why, for lawyers, rules like the International Bar Association's principles for lawyers are so important. Some people think that a golden age is behind us where lawyers were great statesmen, or at least many of the great statesmen were lawyers. And often people forget Nelson Mandela was a lawyer. We forget that Mahatma Gandhi was a lawyer. Men who now stand for great ideals and principles and success in enforcing them, by the way, in extremely difficult circumstances. Now, we can't all aspire to be Nelson Mandela or Gandhi, but I think it is important for us to realise, in a way, every lawyer is a lawyer statesman or lawyer stateswoman, every one of us. What I mean by that is that there are standards of integrity that we all need to, not just aspire to actually, but succeed in living up to. And that we have to have enough substance in ourselves to be genuinely independent. Those two are the big principles, 3 rules of law, I'm calling, that I've drawn from the IBA's principles and that I think are relevant to all of us everywhere. We can kind of be lawyer statesmen and lawyer stateswomen ourselves. I think we've got to be.